There's so much valuable information in this particular podcast to help keep your groceries in check. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Sugar Mama's Fire Play podcast. I am Canna Campbell. A quick reminder with all of my content, it is always general advice and educationally based only. It's never personal advice, strategic advice, or investment advice. Should you ever hear something you think, oh, is that right for me? Please go and speak to a financial planner who can give you personal advice. All right, so today I want to talk to you about the cost of food, our grocery bills, trying to stay within the confines of our budget. Now, this is something I've really been struggling with, and it's funny because I would say I'm pretty good with money. I know how to save, I know how to stay debt-free, how to manage our financial responsibilities, how to invest, and how to protect our financial well-being. But recently, I have been finding that keeping our grocery bill within budget a much tougher challenge than I would like to admit. Now, initially, I kind of just went along with the flow as, each week our, grocery bill was just getting more and more expensive. And I just kept telling myself, oh, look, it was an expensive week. We had, these people over, so we needed extra food, or, the kids, were on school holidays. And I just kept on making excuse after excuse. And I was having to help, obviously, stay within our budget. I was having to cut other things out of our budget to cover the shortfall. But months and months later, I was still making the same excuses and justifications. And I couldn't keep cutting from other places. And I realized enough was enough. I had to step up and be honest with myself, just like I would recommend to anyone else, and look at what was going wrong, come up with some solutions, and basically take back some control. And it was really starting to get me down when I got to the truth of it all. I love the debt-free community, as I've always shared with you guys, and I love seeing on social media what people put as, their grocery hauls. And it's where they, take a picture of everything at the checkout and how much they've spent, or they'll put it all on their kitchen bench top and say like 150, and they'll have all the produce neatly laid out. And I always think, gosh, how do they do that? And I find myself like stalking these people because I'm like looking at the ingredients, zooming in, like trying to work out exactly how they've done it. And it was really starting to get me down because I was like, I'm a financial planner. I have been looking after my own personal finances for 20 something years. And this is one area I seem to have no control. Now, obviously, the cost of food has gone up. The three main reasons, in case people don't know, is obviously we've had the floods. So that's impacted supply. We also have the war in the Ukraine. And as if you don't know, Russia and Ukraine are huge suppliers of wheat. And of course, transportation costs are up as well. So we've got three, curveballs thrown our way, and this is really pushing up the cost of food. And of course, the expense always gets passed on the end consumer, which is us. A box of lettuce I was reading the other day is now $100. Like lettuce, $100 a box. Lettuce is the cheap filler of a salad. If you're on a budget and you need to make a salad, you pile up on the lettuce leaves. I was then reading in another article, that's why we're seeing so much cabbage in our burgers and restaurants. Blueberries, Tom reported to me yesterday when I sent him off to do some grocery shopping, which I'll come to in a second. He said blueberries were almost $11. And my kids love cucumbers. And I remember not long ago buying them from the Odd Bunch for $1 each. They're now $3.90, almost $4. So obviously when supply is down, prices increase. And it's not just, breads, it's also dairy. It's obviously, as I said, fruit and vegetables. It's everywhere. Like everything is now so much more expensive. The cost of living is out of control, and it does really worry me. Now, whilst I'm struggling to keep our budgets within budget, I am finding also this push-pull dynamic going on within my own head. And I'm going to share this with you because I have a feeling that as you listen to this, you'll be feeling like, yep, I'm the same as well. I get where Canna's coming from. So I feel this, I guess, caught in a hard place because I really want to support my local producers, but they cost more. I also want to buy fresh produce over pre-made produce even though they cost more. For example, I would rather buy a fresh pineapple than a canned pineapple, even if it costs more, because I'd rather get fresh produce into my kids. And I know that canned food is not necessarily bad, but I just would rather my children see a pineapple in its whole being rather than in a metal can. I also love supporting the brands that use less packaging or are more environmentally friendly or are sourced in a more, I guess, responsible way that supports the planet and the community, even though they quite often cost more. Classic example is I love Koala Eco cleaning products. They're natural, but obviously they cost more than the mainstream supermarket brands. I also want to support the farmers and the direct producers, even though they cost more. I want to make sure that I pick the foods that my kids will actually eat and won't chuck on the floor or even, dare I say, spit on the floor, which is what happened last night. You see, when my kids won't eat something that I bought for them and it goes on the floor, it's a waste. It's a waste of money. So if my kids like a particular fruit or vegetable, I want to be able to pile it up into them and get as much of that one vegetable that they might like, even though it might cost more, because at least I'm getting some nutrients into them, particularly Rocco, because he's a really fussy eater at the moment. I also want to make sure that, and this is another one I really struggle with when I do find fruit and vegetables, is be able to find the fruit and vegetables that aren't too ripe or aren't too ruined. The other day I bought some avocados and they were rock hard. And I thought, you know what? They're on special. I'll buy them. And I took them home and I put them in a paper bag with some bananas to help ripen them up. And they ripened up so quickly that by the time I realized it, they were starting to look a little bit brown. And of course, my kids turned their nose up at that. So the struggle to find a healthy balance is hard if you really value being mindful with your money. So hopefully me sharing this with you, a lot of other people will hear me. And if you do, please let me know by leaving a comment in the podcast comments. I would greatly appreciate it, because sometimes I put myself out there and make a comment and think, oh, people will say, yep, I'm the same, but I'll get crickets and it's really awkward and embarrassing. Anyway, to keep our grocery budget balanced and in check, with fresh, healthy produce that supports the farmers, the community, and the planet, I struggle with it. It's hard at the moment. So after asking my family, my friends, researching different routines and habits and tricks, I am finally getting our budget, our family grocery budget, back under control. And it's lots of different things, to be honest with you. And I want to share all of these things with you in this podcast this morning. So let's go. All right, I plan and prepare. So every Sunday, I grab my phone and I look at our family calendar. I look at what kids' activities we've got on, such as music lessons, sports, work commitments, social activities. Maybe we're catching up with a friend on the weekend. And I will plan each meal each day and night. And I put that meal in my phone and I cross-reference it against what we already have in the fridge or freezer, prioritizing eating what we already have. So, for example, tonight we're having a salmon salad for dinner. So I've already checked that we have some salmon in the freezer, and I know exactly which vegetables I want to put into that. I do this for at the absolute least, 3, if not 5 days in advance. I also make sure that as I'm doing this, I'm prioritizing, as I said, eating up all the things we already have, so I don't need to go up and buy it. And also as I'm checking, I can make sure we don't duplicate it on anything. Another great thing, and I admit I won't do this necessarily every week, I allow the days to switch over. And I got this hack from an amazing nutritionist who I will link in the podcast description notes. Her name is Susie Burrell, but she recommends having set food for set nights. So for example, Monday night is spaghetti bolognese. Tuesday night is fish fingers with mashed potato and vegetables. Wednesday night might be pizza night. And she said by having set meals, it's really easy to stay within budget because you're literally buying the same produce over and over again. And I guess you limit the ability to get it wrong or waste. I will admit we do this a bit, not religiously. I might switch Wednesday for Thursday or vice versa, but it is a very helpful hack for staying in budget. The next thing I've also learned is to keep it simple. For example, when I'm making a spaghetti bolognese, I will try and keep it as simple as possible. The moment I start adding in exotic ingredients or too many ingredients, the cost of that meal really does start to blow out. So, for example, or salmon salad, I keep it like one protein and say three different vegetables. It's simple. I don't need too many ingredients. It also keeps my pantry and fridge clutter free so I can see everything that's within it. Nothing gets pushed up the back and ruins and is, obviously money wasted. The other thing is I keep a running note in my phone during the week of what I've noticed we're running low on. So when I do my shopping online or in store, I don't forget anything. Now, this is really valuable for me because I'm the sort of person that can't go into the supermarket and buy one thing. I'm so stubborn. I will walk in, I will refuse to take a basket because I'll be like, no, I'm only getting this one thing, like this pint of milk, whatever it might be. And I walk in and refuse the basket. But as I'm walking down the aisles to the milk at the back of the supermarket, I start grabbing things like, oh, biscuits, special chocolate. Oh, yes, the girls I think might be running low on toothpaste. Before I know it, I've got 7 or 8 things. I'm struggling to carry them all because I refuse to take a basket. I've got the milk. And then, of course, that $3 pint of milk is actually $35 because I bought all these other things. And so having a note in my phone when I do the shopping, I know exactly what we need, and it just makes me incredibly efficient because it's less likely for me to have to go back to the store to get that 1 or 2 things that I may have forgotten. The other thing I do is on a Sunday when I have time, I cook in bulk. Now, I won't do this every Sunday necessarily, and sometimes it might be on a Monday afternoon, or if I freakishly get an hour to myself, I will use that time to cook in bulk and freeze those meals into smaller portions for those nights where I'm tired and I'm really tempted to go and get takeaway or home delivery, because when we get takeaway and home delivery, it's incredibly expensive. I don't know about you, but when we do this, we can't just order one meal. We have to order, the money bags, the spring rolls, the satay chicken, the green curry, the massaman curry, 3 rice, and it's $80 very easily. So when I have, like, say, a batch of spaghetti bolognese in our freezer, it is so easy to just go, actually, no, we're going to eat up the bits, which saves us a lot of money. And don't get me wrong, we do have takeaway and home delivery every now and again, but it's for the nights when we know we've stayed in budget and it's never going to jeopardize our financial well-being. The other thing I find that helps me stick to the family budget is I do my grocery shopping online as much as possible. The reason why I love this is I can see the total adding up as I'm adding things to the cart. Now, before I go to checkout, I quickly check all of those things in the cart, make sure that we're within budget, and I have no humiliation or embarrassment removing those items to make sure that we stay in budget. In fact, I do this all the time. Whereas if I was in the supermarket, yes, I can walk around the aisles and kind of give myself a running tally of what this all adds up to, but it's quite likely I'm going to get it wrong at some stage. And then I have the humiliation, embarrassment at the checkout saying, oh, actually, can I just take that off the bill with a queue of people behind me? So it allows me to, I guess, in the privacy of my own home, stick to our family budget. And also the great thing about this I've noticed is when I go back and quickly do that last check of all the items in our cart before I pay, is I can give myself an honest chat about how much unhealthy food do we have in our cart online. And the other day I did this and I realized I'd bought quite a lot of chocolate for the kids. So I was like, actually, this is excessive. They don't need as much chocolate. And I took a few things out. And of course, the budget came down and, we actually went under this week, which was great. The other thing I do, and this is a big one, and it is I pay attention to the price per weight or per kilo. Now, this is really important because they're very clever, these supermarkets, with their marketing. Something will be on special and I'll immediately go, oh, great, that's on special, I'll grab it. But then when I stop and take a moment to actually look at all the other competitors and look at the price per kilo or per gram or whatever it might be, oh my goodness, something might be on special, but it's not nearly as good a value as its competitor brand. So be very, very careful. And it takes just a second to look at this in the fine print on almost every single product in the supermarket. So it's really easy to do. And I save so much money. Tom was telling me the other day he bought something, it was really expensive. I can't remember what it was, from the supermarket. And he said he wasn't concentrating and he got completely ripped off and he was so frustrated. The next thing is I allow fun in our family grocery budget. I'm not, strict and dictating as to what we will eat and where. I allow flexibility. I will let the kids say what they want for dinner. I will say to Tom, what do you feel like? I will obviously say what I feel like making. And Tom helps with the cooking as well. And I try and allow the fun for the end of the week as a bit of reward, especially because it helps us eat healthily, basically from Monday to, say, Thursday or Friday. So that the kids make pizzas, we'll do a nachos. It's a great way of piling a whole pile of vegetables into the nachos for the kids. We also have a Sunday late afternoon ritual where we go and get fish burgers from our local fish and chip shops. Now, there is this one particular fish and chip shop near our house, and they do the best fish burgers. They are so good, and they are like old school burgers, and they've got like this delicious mayonnaise in them, and they put cabbage in there, and they're crunchy, and they toast the buns. They're so good, and they're $8.50 each. Now, we love it. It's no cooking or cleaning, which is great. It's a nice way to wrap up the weekend, but we have fun. It's a Sunday tradition, and we know where to order. It's budget friendly, and it's so good. So we allow a lot of fun. Next thing is, I know my supermarkets. I know where everything is within the supermarket, but best of all, I know where my supermarkets they shop at have that secret special shelf where they heavily discount products. And for example, I grabbed a tray of grapes for $3 the other day, and my kids love grapes. I grabbed a huge loaf of banana and mango bread for $2.50. And when I bought it, I was like, oh, this is probably going to be a bit dry. It wasn't at all. It was so moist, and it lasted 3 days. And my kids absolutely devoured it. So every supermarket has its secret sneaky shelf. It is amazing. It is a gold mine of saving money in a budget, allowing a few frugal treats along the way. And I also really recommend speaking to the staff. Go up to the staff and ask them, like, what day of the week does the most of the produce arrive? Because the following days when they start really discounting stock down, because obviously they need to make space in the supermarket to get the new fresh produce that has arrived that they're going to sell at an inflated price. So ask the staff. They will tell you. They will have no hesitation. It's not a secret that the supermarket doesn't want you to know about. And in fact, the general rule is actually most supermarkets receive fresh produce on a Tuesday night. So those discounts start kicking in on a Wednesday morning and then again on a Wednesday afternoon from 4 o'clock onwards. And on that note, I really recommend if you do have to go to your supermarket or prefer that way to shop, try and go when it's not peak hour, because it'll be a far more harmonious experience with less people in there, but also you'll be able to see what is actually on special. There are less people blocking the signs and the shelves and those little tags with the price per weight. It will make it so much easier, and you won't feel kind of stressed and anxious and just be quickly piling stuff in your trolley to get in and out of there as quickly as possible. But take your time, enjoy the experience. I should also mention that I do a lot of my shopping, the big bulky shopping, online at the beginning of each month when I get paid. And I use the shopping online because it saves me a lot of time and energy and money. So that's when I prioritize the big, bulky, heavy stuff that's hard and awkward to carry and takes up a lot of space in the boot of my car. So when at the beginning of each month, I'll do the big, heavy bags, the bulk bags of dried dog biscuits. I will also do, the washing powders and liquids, the toilet paper and stuff like that. So the beginning of each month, I try and do a big, mass gross shop. And yes, I'm paying for delivery. Delivery cost me about $9, but I've prepaid up front. I think cost me $120 through Woolworths, a year of unlimited delivery as long as I spend over $50. And for me, that is so well worth it, because when I think about the maths of driving to the supermarket, the traffic, parking the car, getting in and out of the car, walking to the supermarket, pushing the trolley around, especially if they've got a trolley with a wonky wheel, and then getting it back into my car, driving home, that's 3 hours out of my day. So for me, that $9 cost, which actually is not really $9 because I prepaid a year in advance, is well worth the investment. That's 3 hours I get with my kids. That's 3 hours I get to do some extra work. That's 3 hours I get for myself sometimes. All right, next thing is I always prefer to buy produce from the deli over pre-packaged items. So say, for example, I'm buying ham. Now, if you go and look at the price per kilo, you'll see that if you can buy the ham from the deli section versus, say, the plastic wrapped, it is significantly cheaper. And I sometimes think fresher because they've sliced it maybe in front of you. Anyway, that's personal choice. But try and buy from the deli section over the package. It's also better for the environment. You're buying something that's wrapped in paper rather than in more plastic. And I'm sure that's probably going to improve the quality of the food as well. Next thing is I'm very resourceful. I'm resourceful with my products, in particular my cleaning products. I read somewhere years ago, and actually the Daily Mail picked up this when I did it in a video a couple of years ago, but you only need a fraction of the washing powder and liquids that that the brands say you need. So say, for example, a particular cleaning brand, say you buy Omo or Morning Fresh, whatever it might be, you don't actually need as much as they say. Try this for yourself. So next time you go to fill your washing machine up with, say, a liquid or a washing powder, try putting half as much in or a third of much in. You will notice that your clothes come out just as clean. Apparently, we are burning through so much more washing powders and liquids than our machines actually really need. We're wasting a lot. And I have done this and it's amazing. It slows down my consumption, which therefore saves me money when it comes to cleaning products. And it's also apparently better for the machine. So test this out for yourself. And also another classic one is shampoo. I used to pile a lot of shampoo into my hands, and shampoo is expensive, particularly good quality shampoos. Having said that, there are some really good budget-friendly shampoos, which I will share in another podcast. But you just need a little bit. You just need to use a bit more time lathering it up and getting that foam and that soap all, thick and velvety through your hair. But we don't need to be using as much products as we think we do. A girlfriend of mine who is really switched on with her grocery budget shopping, she said to me, when a lot of people spray their kitchen bench top at the end of the day, and they use a lot of spray, and you spray the whole thing and wipe it down. What she does, which is a brilliant hack, she gets some Morning Fresh, puts a couple of drops of it onto a reusable cleaning cloth, puts boiling hot water on it, and wipes her kitchen bench top. And it makes sense. The Morning Fresh has an antibacterial wipe in it. It's all foamy and nice, and is just as effective. And she is using probably 5% of what most people are using when they spray their whole bench top down. Again, just try this for yourself. Use less. Try and get a little bit to go a long way when it comes to using your products. You will need to restock your cleaning products far less often, and this will save you a lot of money, and you'll see your grocery budget coming down. The next thing is I use environmentally friendly, zero waste cleaning products and tools, such as microfiber cloths. I also use food toppers, which are like shower caps to put over plates, and so you don't need to use as much cling wrap. I also do not buy paper towels. I don't even buy chuck cloths. I rarely use cling wrap. And for example, you can use newspapers to clean glass. I think the brand's Enjoy, but there's now lots of other different brands. But if you go to the supermarket and look up this particular brand, there are so many dusters and cleaning cloths and wipes that you can use where literally they just need hot water, or in fact they need nothing at all, and they are absolutely brilliant at cleaning glass, aluminium, stainless steel. It's absolutely brilliant. You don't need to use it. It's so much better for your home with less chemicals, and so much better for the planet as well as your budget. Next thing is we cook once, eat twice. Tom works crazy hours. I always say this, but he does, and I feel bad for him because he gets up so early. But he takes his food to work most of the days. And I'm working at home a lot, so I make lunch at home rather than going to a cafe. And look, I allow a bit of balance. Yes, every now and again I do go to a cafe and give myself a break and maybe sit down and eat something. But predominantly we try and eat as much as food at home, and we make our kids' lunches. I don't let Rocco go get food I don't sort of pre-order it. Reason why is it's expensive, and also I want to make sure I try and get as many fruit and vegetables into Rocco as possible. So we make so much of our food at home. And what I have also found, if you're someone who's time poor and you have to get up early for work, use your dinner for lunch. So cook dinner, cook a bit more, and then as you're serving the plates, put some in some Tupperware containers as you're doing it. I've also found that we do this, it means we eat less food for dinner, which doesn't mean we go to bed hungry at all, but we actually sleep so much better. But it means when we wake up in the morning, we don't have to worry about making lunch that day. It's already in the Tupperware container, and literally we pull out of the fridge and off we go. The next thing is I have 3 to 5, actually probably closer to 5, super frugal recipes up my sleeve, which are quick and easy to go, especially when I'm time poor. Things like spaghetti bolognese. I do a delicious lentil bolognese, a chicken curry, a banana bread. I do these amazing plum crumbles, which actually is just crumble. So whatever fruits I should say, are in season, whether it be apples, whether it be apricot, whether it be pears, I can turn that into a crumble. And a crumble is, I think, 4 basic ingredients. It's literally butter, plain flour, oats, and brown sugar. That's it. And you can just grab whatever fruit is in season and throw it on top. So frugal and so delicious. And then I've recently been making chai puddings with frozen berries, which is great because I can literally grab that in the morning in a Tupperware container, make it the night before, and grab it and eat it in the car on my way to a meeting. So I'm not grabbing banana bread and muffins and coffees, when I'm out and about running around doing my errands. The next thing is my dogs. Now, we have Peppy, the puppy, the world's naughtiest Labrador I've ever come across. And she has to have a certain diet that the breeders recommended. And my dog food is not cheap, so I'll buy it in bulk. As I said, I try and prioritize at the beginning of the month when I get paid. I shop loyally, so I get discounts on that, and I'll buy it whenever it goes on special. But also, I will add any leftover vegetables my kids have spat out or refused to eat. I will add that to the dog's food. So I kind of, I guess, fatten up their food. And of course, I only use vegetables that I know is really good for them. And another great hack that I got given by a vet, and I can't remember his name, but I will put it in the podcast description. But he said, a great way to save money with dog food, is actually better for them to do this, is before you feed your dogs, he said, this is obviously just for dry food, but he said, put the dry food into their bowl and add a couple of cups of water and then say, take them for their walk. And when you come back, you'll see that the dry biscuits have actually inflated. They are much, much bigger. And he said, the dogs, you'll need to feed them less and they'll be fuller. He said, what happens is with the dry biscuits, they eat them all and then they get into their stomach. And with obviously all the natural liquids inside our body and fluids, the biscuits bloat up, which is why dogs look sometimes a bit bloated after they've eaten. But he said, by having them already inflated before they eat them, they'll eat less, which obviously is going to save you money and it's actually going to be healthier and better for the dogs. And I went to this event a couple of years ago for dogs, and they actually said that if you can get your dog to eat less, their life expectancy increases by up to 2 years, which is huge. Next thing is I always support the odd bunch, the imperfect pig, whatever it may be that the supermarket calls it, the fruit and vegetable that looks a little special. I love this. It's a great way of saving a lot of money, but supporting our farmers. And it sends a really important message to the supermarkets that we don't care about, dare I say, ugly, weird looking fruit and vegetable. It tastes just the same. It's got the same nutrients. We need to make sure we do this. And we have responsibility to support the odd bunch, the imperfect pig. I absolutely love it. And it means that particular fruit or vegetable is in season as well. So I will use that to stockpile. And I also really use my freezer as well, because a freezer is a time capsule. There's so much you can put into the freezer that you may not realize. And I can't stress enough the importance of supporting the farmers. Farmers are one of the hardest working people, and they carry so much risk on their shoulders with the elements. And they are so trapped and under the thumb of, the supermarkets dictating the prices, and their profit margin gets squeezed away so much. My heart really goes out to the farmers, and they're so passionate about what they do. And, as they carry the biggest risk, they also have the smallest reward. So it's really important to do the right thing and support, the special fruit and vegetable. Now, the next thing is I know where I like to spend. And focus on quality versus quantity. So Susie Burrell, who's the nutritionist who gave me the hack about set meals for set days, she recommends investing in good quality oils. So cobram oils is my go-to oil. And she said you can use this oil in every single recipe that you're thinking of making. She said she uses it in baking and salads, pastas, everything. So I'll always buy cobram oils. It costs a little bit more, but I can really taste the difference in my meals when I make them. The other thing is chocolate. Yes, I could grab the mainstream family block of chocolate, but I've realized I eat more of it and it's not good for me. So when I buy a chocolate bar that is more expensive but a higher quality chocolate, I find that 3 squares is enough to satisfy me. Whereas with the cheaper chocolate bar, I can't help myself but devour the whole entire block on my own. It's the same with yogurts as well. Harris Farm do this incredible yogurt. It's the sweetened plain yogurt. It's unbelievable. It's so creamy and delicious. And yes, it costs more than the, Gippsland yogurt, which is also very good as well. But I absolutely love it. It's so delicious. It gives me joy. It costs more, so I'm happy to squeeze that into my into our family budget. And I find that I savor it, and I eat a little bit less, and I savor it during the week. So as I said, when I go with better quality, another one is goat's cheese, good quality goat's cheese. I don't need as much to get the same, hit or high. The other thing is, Tom and I have a herb garden. I'm sure Tom gets angry when I say we have a herb garden. It's Tom's herb garden. It is his pride and joy. And he's so passionate about it. He's always reviewing it and stressing over it and how the chilies are going, the parsley, the oregano. He's obsessed with it. But that saves us a lot of money, because if you go into the supermarket and you want to grab, say, some parsley or some chives or some oregano, they're on average $4 a bunch, and they only last a couple of days, and that's gone. And yes, you can freeze them in ice and olive oil, but it's not the same. Fresh herbs are amazing, especially when they've just been picked. So we have a mini herb garden. The next thing is, and I know I've already mentioned about Tom going to the supermarket, and again, I got learnt the hard way. I don't shop with my kids or Tom, or I try not to. It ends up a disaster. We blow our budget. They distract me. I get frustrated. You probably hear me yelling at my children or Tom at the supermarket. They slow me down, and so much more junk gets added into our shopping trolley. The other day, I thought I'd quickly duck into Harris Farm, and I had Apple with me, and we'd only been there the night before because we were moving house and we had no food. So I let her get biscuits the night before, one packet for each of the kids. Anyway, we're standing in the queue and she eyes off the biscuits and goes to grab them. And I said, no, Apple, no, put them back. Remember, we bought exactly the same biscuits last night. We don't need them. And she turns to me. And Apple, if you've ever seen on my personal Instagram account, she's very free-spirited. She's a strong woman. Like, I watch out the world when Apple grows up. I'm terrified of when she's going to become a teenager. She looks at me, and there's a long queue of people behind us, and she looks at me and she smiles and she throws, and I'm now up to like 10 times, Apple, put the biscuits back, and I'm getting those glances from people going like, yeah, good luck with that. And she throws the packets of biscuits on the ground and then stands on them. And by now, everyone in the queue is looking at Apple, who's laughing at me, and standing with each foot on a packet of biscuits. So, of course, now we have to buy those biscuits. So, no, I try as much as I can to avoid taking my kids to the supermarket. And Tom, yes, went to the supermarket the other day for me. Again, it wasn't great because he wasn't really concentrating and understands how I try to keep the budget in check. But it's my domain. I really take control of it, and I really love it. We divide and conquer in our homes. I try and just do the shopping on my own if I can. The other thing is, we rarely buy sugary drinks. We each have a glass of water for dinner. It's free, or close to free. It's so much better for you when you're hydrated. You eat less, have a better night's sleep, healthier. Occasionally, I let my kids have a ginger beer. And if we have wine, it's really predominantly on the weekend. The next thing is, I've stopped comparing. I was really starting to beat myself up when I'd look on social media and see other families eating for, say, $150 per week of groceries. And it was getting me down. It wasn't actually serving me in any positive way whatsoever. And I got to the stage where I was like, enough, no more comparing, because where our family is, we're buying nappies. We're buying wipes. However, I do try and use zero waste nappies, and I use flannels and cloths, less than wipes as much as possible, because that's obviously better for the environment and saves money. But we're in a different phase of our lives. Also, like, Tom takes lunch to work each day, so our grocery bill is naturally going to be bigger. I also really try and get a lot of fruit and vegetable into my children, because I really value that in our lives, and I really prioritize, balanced, nutritious meal includes fish and meat. Obviously, having said that, we do have vegetarian nights as well. So me comparing to someone else that, say, they might be doing $150 per week in groceries, but they might also be eating out a lot. They may be getting home delivery. To try and compare, it's really unfair, and it's not going to help yourself. So the moment I stopped comparing and just focused on our grocery budget and staying within check, I just felt a massive weight lifted off my shoulders. The next thing is I shop loyally as much as I possibly can. I'm a massive fan of Woolworths. Peppy's pet insurance is through Woolworths. So once a month we get 10% off our grocery shop, and I try and use that discount at the beginning of the month when I'm doing that big, heavy Woolworths shop, because that discount can be up to $60 per month, which is a lot of money. Another great hack is using the Frugal app, which is free, but it has all the weekly specials in the one screen. This is particularly good for things like Christmas time, when you might be doing a big party and entertaining. You've got lots of things to buy in bulk, such as wine or chocolates or fresh produce, because it will show you what's on special, and you can start stockpiling for your special event. There's a lot of money to be saved, particularly around alcohol. So Frugal app is great. I love shopping loyally. I love Woolworths. I always love looking at what my rewards savings is coming up to. It's so worth shopping loyally. But then, as I said, I do every now and again like to support my local producers, such as Harris Farm or my local fruit and vegetable shop. Yes, it costs more, but I love that community feel as well. The next thing is, and this is going to contradict a lot of what I'm saying, and I don't mean it to, but hopefully you'll get what I'm trying to say. And that is, I try and shop where I feel inspired to eat healthily. So, for example, Harris Farm. I love Harris Farm. I love walking around seeing all the fresh, healthy produce around me. I love shopping at my local markets, the Bondi markets. And the reason why I think this is important for me is because I look at, our grocery budget for long-term health. So if we eat healthily, we're going to have a stronger immune system. We're going to have more energy. We're going to be able to concentrate better at work and my kids in the classroom. And for me, that is well worth the greater expense. It means that we are having to go to the doctors less. We are having to spend less money on seeing specialists, or having less sick days, or having less days where we aren't feeling very well and healthy. Now, if you're wondering what that noise in the background is, that is Peppy, the world's naughtiest puppy, but she might be making a lot of noise, but I promise you she's okay. The other things I said is I factor in the cost of time with my grocery bill. I remember once Tom and I got into an argument because he's like, Hannah, you should be going to Aldi and then shopping at Woolworths and then Coles. And, because it's, especially when you see the Frugal app, you can see the difference between the supermarkets. But the thing is, he was right. But for me, my time driving to 3 different supermarkets in 3 different suburbs, driving through traffic, getting parking, getting in and out of the car was an extra 3 hours out of my day or out of my week. And that wasn't money or time well spent. And when I worked out, well, if I had 3 more hours back to do more work, that would actually make us more money than would actually save us. So that for me was a really important discovery. When he got it, he kind of eased off and went, okay, all right, it's also about time efficiency. Now, the other thing is, as I start to sort of really wrap this up, and I am trying to make my podcast shorter, I'm sorry guys, but there's just so much valuable information to share. When we do come in under budget, I don't, and this is going to sound weird, but I don't celebrate my successes. And I'll explain why now. The example, this week we actually came $100 under budget this week. Now, I was really proud of that. I was doing cartwheels around the house because that's a great saving for us. And this has taken me a while. I've been working on our grocery budget for so long. But I know that, for example, I keep it real is what I'm trying to say. I know, for example, I've got Rocco's birthday coming up, and we're going to throw a party for him. So yes, there's $100 that I've just technically saved. So I don't think, oh, okay, great, we can now do our grocery shopping for this amount per week. That's going to lure me into a false sense of security. I make a mental note of that $100 savings, and I know that as we approach Rocco's party, I can use that $100 buffer to pick up things like lollies for the lolly bags, picking up extra fruit for the fruit platter that I'm going to do for them, for the sausage rolls that I'm going to make for them, for the cake that I'm going to make. So I make a mental note of that $100 savings that we have created and found within our budget, but I allow myself to use that as a buffer for days and weeks where we may go over. We might have entertaining and have friends over for a barbecue, so that $100 buffer can be used there. So don't think, okay, great, we've got our budget down and that's the new budget. No, there are going to be days and weeks where it blows out. You'll be entertaining. You'll have an expense. You'll have, you'll have a special event in your life where you need to buy extra produce. So don't, I guess, think, that's it. Great, we got it down. That's the new budget. And a classic example is actually last night, I realized that our linens are starting to get really threadbare. The kids have been using the same towels for just over 2 years, and they were starting to look really tired. And I realized, okay, they actually need some new towels. So some of that $100 budget, if I want to, can go towards fresh linen if that's the case. But it gives me a buffer and I guess keeps me in a safe boundary within our budget. And I can use that, as I choose. Now, I was going to share with you what we spend on a weekly budget and, as a rough average. But then I realized what I've got to is realizing that this point of comparison was holding me back. And I don't want it to hold you back. I don't want to say, well, this is how much we spend on average per week on groceries, because it's actually not going to serve you. In fact, you might think that's impossible. We couldn't possibly get our weekly budget that low. Or you might think, oh my goodness, Canna spends that much. She's not even trying to be frugal. And I will always point out, I'm not frugal. I'm mindful when it comes to money. But it doesn't actually serve you in any way. And I feel like it creates more judgment in the world, which is the last thing we need. So what my advice to everyone is, focus on your own grocery budget, focus on your own values, create a really great routine and habit and spend your money that reflects your value system. So for me, my routine is Sunday afternoon. I go through the fridge, I go through the pantry, I cross-reference it against my phone. I put in my phone what we're going to eat each night. I make sure I know what activities we've got going on. If we're working back late, we've got deadlines, projects, school assignments, sporting activities, all those sorts of responsibilities I factor in so that I know and plan in advance, and I plan my budget in advance. So I highly recommend stop comparing yourself to other people on social media or your friends as to how much they spend on groceries. Focus on your own budget, your own value system, your own routines, your own habits. Create a system that works just for you. And focus as you would, I guess, on your own financial goals. When it comes to your grocery budget, focus on your game plan, your goals, your mini goals, your big dream. That's what all that matters is to you and your family. So I wish I could share this magical formula that's going to help cut 20%, 50% off your grocery bill. It's not the case. I'm going to admit it's taken a lot of work, a lot of awareness, a lot of mindfulness to help get our budget back under control, get our grocery bill down, reduce the waste, and get great value out of our budget where we can eat healthy, nutritious food that we don't feel guilty and bad about. So in a nutshell, build a routine or a habit that works for you. Invest literally 20 minutes. And I have to say, I don't even spend 20 minutes because once you get better at a habit or a routine, you don't even think about it, you just do it. But invest some time upfront. Make it the same day every week where you look at the meals that you want to eat for the week. You plan them out, you put them in your diary, you check whatever routines or whatever commitments you've already got in going on that week so you can plan your meals and food around it. Prioritize eating up the bits, the things that you already have in your fridge, your freezer, and your pantry. Make sure that you have a couple of really easy go-to super frugal meals that will help keep your budget in check and help you allow to plan and prepare for weeks or months, for example, Christmas time, where you know you're going to have a blowout on the weekly food groceries. And if you can, try and make enough food for dinner that you can save some for the next day. As Susie Burrell recommends, set meals for set days. Even if it's just 3 out of 4, I guarantee this will be one of the most helpful hacks to save you a lot of time, energy, and money. And remember to try and eat healthily. Yes, a packet of Tim Tams are on special for $2.20 this week. They are, the price of a bunch of bananas are double, if not triple that price. But think of yourself investing in long-term health and well-being, because that will actually save you more money. When you're fit and strong and healthy, you will have more energy to get through your day. You'll find it's easier to concentrate at work. You will spend less money at doctors and specialists trying to get better again and have less time away from work and sick days and having to take bigger, longer, more expensive breaks away from work, because you maintain your health with long-term sustainability and longevities. And as I said, just teach yourself a couple of super frugal, delicious meals to have as your go-to. All right, everyone, I've hit the 45-minute mark. Terribly sorry about this, but I think there's so much valuable information in this particular podcast to help keep your groceries in check. Now, let me know what you think of this podcast. Please feel free to share it with all of your family and friends. I greatly appreciate it. And if you could let me know if you feel the same, I guess, push-pull dynamic when it comes to your groceries and finding healthy food and wanting to support the small guys and wanting to try and get the right fruit and vegetables into your children without them spitting on the floor, I would greatly appreciate it so I don't feel like I'm putting myself out there all by myself. All right, have a great week, everyone, and please don't forget to make sure you are subscribed. This is Sugar Mama's Fire Play Podcast.